When women talk about birth control, the first thing that comes to mind is the pill, probably the less invasive method and easy to access for every woman. But how does the pill actually work? How does it affect women's bodies? And are we as women actually aware of both the pros and cons of this incredible medication? And on top of all, how was the contraceptive pill actually created? Well, it is a fairly new discovery. The idea of an easy, effective birth control method started back in 1916 when a nurse from New York, Margaret Sanger, started fighting for women to have control over their bodies and their pregnancy. Sanger was also imprisoned for creating the first birth control clinic in the United States, which will then move on to be called Planned Parenthood from 1942. In the 1950s, Sanger met Gregory Pincus, a scientist who was conducting tests on rabbits about preventing ovulation through the hormone progesterone. Sanger and Pincus then teamed up with Catherine McCormick, an heiress very much involved in the women's rights campaign, and a fertility expert, John Rock. Their work would come to be their first ever oral contraceptive, what we normally still call nowadays the pill. Trials for the pill started in the US, but due to some side effects women were experiencing during the trials, the testing pool started to become smaller. Obscenity laws prevented the scientists to advertise the trials on papers. Therefore, the testing started to be conducted first on psychiatric patients for long-term effects, and then moved to Puerto Rico in 1955. At the time in Puerto Rico, women's sterilization was legal and the use of contraceptive was favored in order to stem population growth. It needs to be mentioned that both of these trials were deeply unethical, fatal in many occasions, and nor the psychiatric patients nor Puerto Rican women had given consent over the experiments they were being submitted to. Nonetheless, the trials came back 100% effective, maintaining, though, a certain number of side effects, fluctuating from dizziness to nausea to blood clots. The first birth control pill hit the markets in 1957. This pill was called Enovit and was distributed by GD Cell in the US. At the beginning, due to obscenity laws still in place, doctors were not allowed to refer to the pill as a contraceptive. It would be described as a medication for disturbance of menstruation. Only in 1960, it was approved by the FDA for its intended use. On the 19th May 1960, the pill became available to married women only. In 2 years, almost 2 million women in the US were taking oral contraceptive, and by 1972, the pill was fully legalized and became available to all women on a global scale. The oral contraceptive paved the way for any other birth control method, from patches to rings to IUDs. The pill is discreet, easy to use, and effective, and gives the woman full control over her body. It helped decrease significantly the number of unwanted births, along with infant and maternal deaths. Not only this, but it had a major impact on the economic revolution too. By using the pill, women could control their pregnancies without having to abstain, and they could delay having children to dedicate more time to education and career without having to worry about unwanted or unexpected pregnancies. Thanks to this, women started enrolling in more male-dominated courses like medicine or law, which would take a longer time to complete. Nowadays, the most common pill is still a combined type of pill, which includes new synthetic forms of estrogen and progesterone. As a comparison, each pill used in the 60s equals to 7 of today's pills. In the UK and most generally in Europe, the pill is the most used type of contraception, scoring at 28% of female population between the age of 15 to 49.
I started taking the pill last year, in March 2020. One of the main reasons why I decided to take it is because my normal period is always really painful, with a lot of flow and usually lasts up to 7 days. I wasn't and I'm not at the moment in a stable relationship, so I'm aware that I don't really need it as a contraceptive.
I started taking the pill in 2017. I was in a stable relationship and it seemed like the easiest method.
I started taking the pill in December 2019 to overcome my acne problems. Despite all the reviews I read about it, the first months were very easy for me and I could have seen some improvements on my skin and hair.
I can say that in the first months I was really moody and kind of weak, but even now I'm still not sure if the pill was causing me that because I'm anemic. For sure I can say that it made my skin more clear and glow. I can notice that I barely have acne anymore, only my old scars. Another positive thing about the pill is that my breast looks more full now. I'm grateful that I finally found something that can really help me live a normal life like other people. To be honest, I'm really scared to go back to my life without the pill because I feel so much better now that I'm on it.
At the beginning, for the first couple of months, it felt terrible. I was constantly moody. I would take it at a dinner time around 8 p.m. and by 11 p.m. I would be so nauseous I could barely sleep. I wasn't really noticing the emotional effects it would have on me until I actually stopped taking it last year in June 2020. I would be so melancholic at all times, so anxious. My paranoia was over the top. My thoughts would never rest. I decided to stop the pill because I did not need it anymore for the main purpose, which is contraception. But also, it was having a major impact on my body, aesthetically speaking. Being in quarantine probably made me overanalyze my body a lot more. And seeing the water retention I had been gaining was not it for me. After 3 years of ups and downs and emotional imbalances or numbness, it was wonderful to finally feel things again.
My period always made me emotional at times, and the pill didn't stop that but increased it. Even though technically being on a fake period, it shouldn't happen, and sometimes it's a struggle for me. Implies that my libido over this past year changed a lot, especially now that I'm in a stable relationship. I can see that it can get me too excited or not at all at times. A best side effect the pill gave me is an increase of water retention, something that I really struggle from, along with cellulite.
Every woman will have a different experience with the pill, whether great or bad. Like every other medication, it won't have the same effect on everyone, and that's totally okay. If that's not for you, there's plenty other birth control methods that might be more fit for your needs, and it's important to know that none of us is alone in this. Apart from this, the pill is regarded as one of the most important scientific discoveries of the 20th century, and it did in fact transform the lives of millions of people.